Hello there, people of the internet. I've been sick the past couple of days, but I am now recovered enough to start making YouTube videos again. So now I'm going to go ahead and record this one. Whenever I was sick, I was watching some Hickok 45 videos, and what he does is he sets out a bunch of firearms of a specific genre, and he's like, if I could only pick one, this one. So I figured, it looked like fun. So I would take a rule right from his playbook. Is that what's the word where you're trying to say something, but say it sarcastically? The word's right on the tip of my tongue, but damn it, I just can't think of it. I'm gonna take a rule right from his playbook and make a video basically exactly what he did, but from my perspectives and with my own collection. So I have a massive collection, and I decided to go ahead and make myself a video talking about if I could only own one military surplus rifle. Now, a couple of caveats. I picked 10 of them, and these are the 10 running up, 10 runners up. And it was a very hard decision to make, to pick out these 10 right here. So I decided for this video, I did not pick any American firearms because automatically one of those would win. So no American firearms for me in this video. So no American firearms, and whenever I picked these military surplus firearms, I picked bolt actions only. Otherwise the SKS would win just from practicality, it being automatic and whatnot. So I picked bolt actions only, or some kind of manually operated system. And I picked nothing modern, no modern Milsurps, meaning anything that existed once 7.62 NATO became a thing, that and more modern, that's off the table, because I would probably pick something in 7.62 NATO just because of ammunition availability. Now that we got that out of the way, let me go ahead and say, hey, nothing I'm doing here is free, and this pile of guns right here was actually quite expensive if you want to help out my work. Links to Utreon and Patreon are in the description below. That helps me make content like this right here. Now, after I picked out these 10, and some of them are sporterized, some of them are in their original configuration, that wasn't really a caveat for me. After I picked out these 10, I mean, there are just so many other military surplus rifles I have in my collection that I would not want to give up. But of these 10 right here, these right here were definitely the most likely I would pick if I could pick one. And whenever I was picking out these 10, now that I have my 10, I purposefully made myself not think about what I would consider with any of this stuff right here. Like, I purposefully went out of my way to not think about it whenever I had decided to make this video. So whenever I'm out here racking my brain, I want to go ahead and do that while I am here in front of camera. So I figure I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what I actually have out here. This right here is my 3040 Krag, kind of a very unique system with the side-loading magazine. It's kind of a capsule style that kind of rotates around the receiver itself. Very unusual system. It does, however, take a 308 diameter bullet, and I am a reloader, so this right here is something that I can reload pretty darn easily. And although the action is not necessarily all that strong, it's definitely strong enough for the types of loading and the types of ammunition that I would need here in the state of Florida for basically any kind of purposes. So you just kind of drop your rounds into the side of the rifle here, you close that bad boy up, and there's actually a magazine cutoff system right here. Let's see if that's engaged. No, it is not. So a magazine cutoff system on the side of the receiver, which is actually really cool. Obviously this one has been sporterized, and I really like the sights on this. Whenever I talk about these rifles, I'm talking about the specific ones that I own. These are Redfield sights, and like me being blind, Redfield sights really come in handy. Now the 3040 Krag is not a particularly powerful round, like I said. However, also like I said, it's definitely powerful enough to handle what I have to handle. Yeah, I mean, that steel definitely knows it's getting shot. Now, anyone who's ever handled the 3040 Krag knows just how buttery smooth the action is on these things. Like, whenever I try to compare this and describe it to people, it's like you take two panes of glass, like, that have butter on them, and you slide them face to face against one another. And that is a lot what this is like. Very exquisitely machined. Alright, up next, this right here is a much less unusual one. Mosin Nagant 9130 and 54 rimmed. This is an excellent rifle. You guys have seen this on the channel plenty of times. Ammunition is nice and available. Ammunition is nice and powerful. The 7.62x54 rimmed is definitely a very potent behemoth cartridge. And fired out of a barrel length like this 9130, it has roughly the same power as the American 30-06. Ow, and the recoil to boot. That poor piece of steel down there probably isn't going to last much longer. Alright, so a couple of rounds for the 9130. I couldn't not have this one out here on this list. Speaking of, I have me the 735 Carcano. This is the M38, and me being a reloader, I can, you know, reload the ammunition I need for this rifle, but at the same time, finding the brass for this rifle can be a little on the tricky side. You either have to get it either made or you have to know a source. Just 735 Carcano is definitely a difficult round to find. However, that being said, I do have some, and I did find some. Now, this rifle, lightweight, I very much do like it. It's a comfortable rifle to shoot. 735 Carcano is definitely more powerful and more potent than 6.5 Carcano, but at the same time, it's not like 50 BMG, destroy your shoulder, you know, fire one shot and then decide that you're never going to shoot again kind of round. Babushki. Wow, watching these things fire is definitely not something that you see on a common basis. I've only got a couple of rounds of 735 Carcano. The one thing I don't like about this rifle is the Monlicker system. You need that clip that just fell out of the rifle in order to feed the rifle. Now, you don't necessarily need it. You can single load it, but it's a control feed system and you'll eventually break your extractor. All right. There we go, some 735 Carcano being shot downrange. It's a powerful it's a strong action, that's what I'm trying to say. Strong action, you can load these cartridges to be pretty potent, but even then it's not like 30-06 powerful. Alright, this is actually legitimately one of my favorite rifles. This is a Santa Fe carbine, obviously made to look like a jungle carbine. It's actually a #1 Mark III that was converted to look like a jungle carbine. Still in its 303 British loading, which is currently in a box. 303 has definitely gotten more expensive as time has gone on, and there's a big surplus of these 303 rifles that have recently been imported into the country. And as a result, you have this ammunition that was already a little on the rare side getting even more rare. I miss the days back when Wolf was making 303 like they were, and you could pick this stuff up for like 30 cents a round. But even then, it is still available. It's just a wee bit more expensive. Ow! And out of this little carbine right here, it has quite a bit of recoil behind it. I will say though, the aperture sights on this really allows me to line up my shot nicely. Of course, with how close we are, it appears I'm hitting a little on the low side. We are still hitting our steel, but we're seeing a lot of crap fly up. Let me try aiming just a wee bit higher. There we go, that was a more center shot. So 303 British, can't go wrong with this thing. This is actually a very nice little carbine. Alright, up next, this is one that I really like. Like, it's unusual looking, and it's obviously being heavily sporterized. This right here is a Carl Gustav rifle, chambered in 6.5x55. Is my only rifle in 6.5x55 for now. but I really like this rifle. I was not really all that keen on the 6.5x55. I've heard great things about it and whatnot, but I was, what's the word I'm looking for? Skeptical on some of the things I was hearing about it, like just how laser-like the ballistics are. I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. Just how laser-like the ballistics are out at ranges, and I just completely disregarded what I have been hearing until I actually took this thing out to some long ranges. And I actually took this particular rifle out to 400 yards, and I was making regular shots, like on, hell, I hit steel or 6-inch steel targets pretty regularly at 400 yards with this rifle, with this 6.5x55, and I am just absolutely blown away at just how good of a cartridge this actually is. And I was astonished at just how much I had underestimated this thing. Of course, right now I'm zoomed out for 9 power. Let's go ahead and bring that back down to 3 power. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and take my hat off here, because my hat likes to hit this particular scope on this particular rifle. Now, this is actually a different kind of ammunition, and this rifle is not zeroed with this particular ammunition, so we might hit our steel target, we might not, but I'll still go ahead and send a round downrange. Yep, we still hit our steel. Yeet! Wow, the 6.5x55 is just such a delightful cartridge to shoot. Anyone who's ever shot it knows just how nice this round is to fire. I had forgotten that this was not surplus ammunition and was reloadable brass, so I went to try and find my brass. I found one, did not find another. Okay, let's go ahead and keep on keeping on. This right here is a #1 Mark III rifle, also in 303 British. This is, you know, the original configuration of the rifle. I actually really like this rifle. I was thinking about this rifle or my #4 Mark I rifle, but this one is just a better quality. With the year of its manufacture and just the amount of effort and work that went into these #1 rifles as opposed to the #4 rifles, which was a more economically friendly rifle to produce, this right here won, but not, I mean, it was such a close call. Like, I would be pleased picking either rifle, but I picked this one just because of the quality of it. Oh, very interesting. The weight of this rifle, shooting this side by side with the carbine, the recoil on this is significantly less. Let's send another round. That poor steel has been through so much, oh my god. Yep, it's got more to go through. One more round, steel. I have shot the steel so much that it is in a divot inside of the concrete, and that is the thing that is holding it up. Alright, what is up next? Up next, I have here my 7.7 Jap Arisaka. This right here is the original configuration. I have both a 7.7 Jap and a 6.5 Jap. I went with the 7.7 because it is a more powerful, more potent round. Not only that, I gotta clean up this magazine a little bit apparently. But not only that, but it's also a much shorter rifle. The Type 38 that I have is definitely a much longer rifle. This Type 99 right here is, oh, I don't know, probably about a foot less in length. Not only that, but it's also a very lightweight rifle. I would not feel bad about carrying this thing around for long periods of time. So let's go ahead, put a round downrange. I did chamber, right? Yes, put a round downrange here. This is 7.7 Jap. This particular stuff is Hornady stuff, which is also reloadable, which is what I'll be doing with this. Well, I hit my target, but I also got some backblast on that one. What happened? Does not look like the cartridge sealed itself properly in the chamber, and that's alright, probably just some grease or funk or whatnot in there. No signs of overpressure. Let's go ahead and send this other round here, if our magazine will stop malfunctioning. I think that whenever I put this rifle together, this was like a saved rifle, a rifle that I had brought back to life myself. And the magazine follower and magazine spring, I think, are from a VZ24, and I kind of like did some finagling and whatnot to get them to work in this thing. So I'm not surprised that the magazine is not functioning the way that it should be. All right, well, I still got a little bit of backblast from that one in my face, but it was significantly less. I'm willing to bet that the chamber might have a bit of corrosion or something inside of it. So I will probably have to clean this rifle. All right, up next, I actually don't have any ammunition for this rifle. This right here is my Troop Special Carcano. I really like this rifle. 6.5 Carcano, very light recoiling round, 6 rounds of ammunition. You got your in-block clip, bolt action rifle. It's not exactly the smoothest rifle in the world, but at the same time, man, this thing is handy. It is small, it is lightweight. Whenever you put your front post all the way to the bottom of that V-notch right there, this thing right here tends to not hit all that high. Some Carcanos can hit significantly high, but this one's really not that bad. What really gets to me is just how small this thing is. Like, this is literally just about the length of my arm, and man, its compact nature firing a pretty good, powerful round. I like this thing. I really like this 6.5 Carcano Troop Special. And for a while, I was claiming that this right here is my favorite military surplus firearm. And honestly, I mean, I got a lot of really good ones, but I would still probably claim this one as my favorite, just because of its extremely lightweight nature, and yet still pretty gosh darn powerful, potent cartridge that it fires. Now, I wouldn't use this thing past like 300 yards or so because it's gain twist rifling that's been cut down, so your bullet doesn't quite stabilize the way that it's supposed to. However, that being said, I'm not really all that accurate anyway out at 300 yards, so I don't foresee me engaging much past that distance. Okay, up next, let's move on to our 8mm Mauser Car 98. This right here is an excellent rifle. This is a rifle that I had gotten from the same person that had given me this Japanese Arisaka, and I also brought this rifle back to life. This one was a nightmare to bring back to life, and I was convinced that it was not gonna make it. There was just so much crap inside of the barrel itself, and I literally had to go out and get myself a concrete drill to be able to drill out the barrel. And I was so delicate and so careful not to mess up the rifling, but at the same time, I was like convinced that the rifling had already been destroyed because of just the crap that was in there. It was like retaining moisture. It was like wet dirt and decomposing wood. Like, what had happened with this rifle, apparently, according to the person I had gotten it from, apparently it was being used as a toy by people, you know, back before this was a collectible military surplus rifle. You know, give the kids this rifle here, but they don't want the kids to actually shoot anything, so they stuff the barrel with a bunch of crap and seal it so it could never be used again. Well, then 80 years down the road, old Sean here wants to go ahead and use the rifle. So very delicately, I went through this thing. I tried getting it up and going, and I did it successfully. So now I have some Turkish 8mm Mauser ammunition that we're going to shove through this rifle downrange. Now, 8mm Mauser is a round that you can still pick up surplus for, but the surplus market is very hit or miss. Sometimes there's stuff on the market, sometimes there's not. The 8mm Mauser is definitely starting to dry up, especially in comparison to some other things on the surplus that are probably still being produced to this day. Now, 8mm Mauser is still being produced to this day, but it's not the cheapest or most ergonomic to shoot. That being said, since I'm a reloader, I can just, you know, reload my brass and that'll be that. However, I do want to talk about just how versatile this ammunition is. This right here is a 155 grain projectile. I think it's somewhere around there. But a 155 grain projectile traveling at around 3,000 feet per second, which is a freaking smoking cartridge, right? However, you can get heavier projectiles, such as like, I know my Yugoslavian ammunition is a 196 grain projectile. So there's definitely a heavier grain projectile traveling at around 2,600 feet per second, which is still a freaking astonishingly fast cartridge. But you can get you know, commercial made ammunition for these things get any weight, any velocity, depending on what loadings you decide to use. And these are very versatile rifles, very versatile cartridges, very popular cartridges too. Tons of these rifles out there. And just like that, I have no choice but to clean this Car 98. Oh boy, I forgot how much that this Turkish stuff recoils. Ow. With how fast this stuff is moving, I'd like to see it in slow motion and see if it just disintegrates on target. With all the smoke down there, I can't see my steel. So I'm just kind of shooting where I think the steel probably still is. Okay, last but definitely not least, this right here is my 9611. This right here is a Schmidt-Rubin straight pull rifle chambered in 7.5 by 55. This particular one, there is a date on it somewhere. Perhaps not. There's a lot of story or a lot of history behind these rifles, but essentially it's a 1911, or it's a 1889 that was made to basically mimic and look identical to a 1911. And you can tell that it's a conversion and not a direct 1911 because our little grip right here on our stock has been cut and added into the wood. So there's a very clear, distinct version, or a very clear, distinct sign of a conversion to one of these rifles, as opposed to a factory made. All right, oh God, as it turns out, I don't have much of this ammunition. This box was almost empty. Oh, that's all right. Let's go ahead. I got a couple of rounds here. I'll go ahead and send these downrange. Now, these are unusual rifles just because they are straight pull, so you don't have to cycle your bolts, or you don't have to lift your bolt whenever you want to cycle it. That's what I'm trying to say here. Obviously, you still have to cycle your bolt. But they are also incredibly accurate rifles from what I've heard. Of course, this one right here, the front sight that I put on it is one that I myself put on it. And whenever I put it on there, I just kind of eyeballed it. So, out at incredibly long ranges, I'm not sure how accurate this rifle would be. But at the 100-yard range that I have at my house, I'm able to hit my target. Whee! Where'd it go? There she is. I was hoping to catch it, but boy, that did not work out in my favor. You know what, why not? I'll send another one downrange. All right, one more. Oh, darn, that was so close. These right here take a 308 diameter bullet for reloading purposes. Some people will tell you it's a 306 diameter bullet. Those people have never actually slugged the bore of their gun to figure out that their gun is actually a 308 diameter. Alright, so now comes me actually making the decision, now that I've rambled on for the past half an hour about them. Alright, where do I even start with this? Like, oh my god. I never really thought about where I would start. Okay, so ammunition. As a reloader, ammunition's not really something that I worry about because I can just freaking make my own, right? So ammunition availability doesn't really bug me all that much, but at the same time, there are things about finding the ammunition components and whatnot that can be a little challenging sometimes. Now, the 7.35 Carcano takes a 300 diameter bullet, and this is the only rifle in existence that takes that particular size projectile. So that does make sourcing that particular bullet a little difficult. And the brass is also a little on the difficult side. So, yeah. Alright, 7.35 Carcano, I love you dearly. I love this rifle. It's accurate, it's powerful, it's potent. It's a good length rifle. It's nice and lightweight. But at the same time, yeah, just because of the ammunition. I'd go ahead and I'd take that off the table. That is not what I would pick if I could only pick one. Alright, 6.5 Carcano. They can be a little interesting. 2.64 diameter bullets are what is normally available for 6.5. However, these are a 2.68 diameter bore. So that right there is just one of the things to take into consideration. The 2.64 bullet is just slightly smaller than the bore of the bore of the Carcano right here. and as a result, you're not going to really get the accuracy that you want to get just because the bullet is slightly smaller and it doesn't quite engage the rifling. Combine that with the gain twist rifling that has been cut out of this barrel right here, and you could potentially have a pretty inaccurate rifle. That being said, this rifle, this particular Carcano, has not given me problems with 2.64 diameter projectiles. So I can readily get the bullets and I can readily get the brass for this particular rifle. And it's very lightweight, very compact. Yeah, but there is a but, I guess. I really don't want to. I think that what is going to do it in for this rifle is the fact that you require a separate clip to be able to load the magazine on this rifle. And I don't want to have to, you know, be 100% positive that I have that clip to load the rifle, especially if it's something that can just fall out of the rifle onto the ground. If I'm in a situation where I'm using this for practical purposes and I only have that one clip, now I'm looking around on the ground trying to find that freaking clip, because I had stuck all the rounds through this thing. It's just, it's a terrible idea. Good idea for the time frame and the time period whenever magazines were really being introduced into rifles, but for today's standards, just because of that Monlicker clip, I'm gonna go ahead and, oh god, I love this rifle so much though, I'm gonna put that one aside. Okay, with my eyesight, the leaf sight on this 303 British rifle is just not ideal. I love this rifle, but at the same time, aiming down the sight, although is absolutely doable, especially for me, I find that aperture sight rifles are just better at doing that than leaf sight rifles, especially when the aperture is in front of your face. So I have a 303 Enfield over here, the Jungle Carbine, that has an aperture sight on it. So because I have that one, I'm going to go ahead and set this one aside. That's probably not the one that I would pick. All right, up next, 7.7 Jap. I actually really like the cartridge. It's powerful, and the rifle is lightweight, and the recoil really is not that bad. It's good enough to do basically whatever it is you're wanting to do. The rifle's nice and strong. Still getting over sickness here. You can source parts for these. The reason why I have not the right parts for this thing is just because I kind of used what I had left over from other projects to get this thing up and going. It's lightweight, it's strong, it's powerful. The ammunition is a 312 or 311 diameter projectile. Same projectile as the 54 rimmed and the 303 British, so the projectiles and ammunition can be got pretty available. However, the brass can be a little on the difficult side to source, but I already have a bunch of brass. But I guess I shouldn't talk about my particular ammunition situation. The brass can be difficult, and I guess it's such a nitpicky thing, but on other Mauser rifles you can hold the trigger down and decock the rifle manually just by holding the trigger down and closing the bolt, but you can't do that with the Arisaka. In order to decock this, you have to dry fire it, and I don't like doing that, especially with these old military surplus rifles. That is such a minor nuance though, but I think just because of the brass availability, and I can't decock my rifle, and in this particular rifle, I guess the magazine is a little on the messed up side, but I really like this rifle. But I guess I'm gonna go ahead and set it aside. If I could only pick one, I guess that's not the one that I would pick. All right, what else do we have here? German Kar 98 8mm Mauser. God, that's just such that I gotta set that back down here. That's gonna be a finisher right there. 3040 Krag. 3040 Krag. I mean, you can still find 3040 Krag brass pretty damn easily here in the United States. This particular one, sporterized Redfield sights. I can see those sights very, very easily. I like how buttery smooth this is. 308 diameter bullet, so it's nice and readily available. However, the 3040 Krag is not a particularly powerful round. And if I'm going to keep one bolt action rifle, I would want a nice powerful round with a nice strong action that can go ahead and handle the high pressure rounds that I might potentially want to go ahead and create. And this right here is just not strong enough and up to the par to be able to handle the pressures that I would probably be throwing through it. So I guess I'll go ahead and just set the 30-40 Krag aside. Alright, and then there were 5, so I just cut this in half. Alright, 7.5 by 55, 308 diameter bullet, can get it very easily. This is a very nice, very accurate long gun. However, just because of how big it is, this is a large gun. Like, if I take this and set it on the ground, it comes up to my freaking rib cage, dude. This is a huge, huge rifle. And if I could only have one, I'd probably go with something like smaller and lighter weight that I could carry around very easily. If I was going to be shooting at things at 1,500 yards away, this would be a very good rifle to have. It's very, very accurate, very, very powerful. Definitely very good rifle to have. However, most of my shooting is not past 100 yards, and I never really engage anything past 300 yards, with the exception of like range shooting and whatnot. But I mean, you can range shoot with whatever it is you feel like. If you miss your target, so freaking what? Alright, what next? 303 British. Oh god, now we're really getting into the difficult decisions here. Alright, 303 British. It's a nice lightweight carbine. It's got a sling, it's got the fast cock on close action. This muzzle flash, this flash hider right here actually does a really, really good job at keeping the concussive blast off of me. I really like the trigger on this thing. It's like a 2-stage trigger, and once you hit that wall, you pull through it, it just goes off immediately. The recoil on this is a little harsh because 303 can be pretty powerful. However, I can underload the ammunition or use lighter weight projectiles to really help dampen the recoil on this thing. The rubber butt pad on this particular one is nice and hard and stiff like a brick, so I could replace this as well, and that would also help with recoil. Let's go ahead and look at the Mosin Nagant. Why not? This particular one used to be sticky, but it is now incredibly smooth. Wow, that is actually a very nice, smooth Mosin Nagant action. This is a fairly accurate rifle. It's about 3 MOA with proper ammunition. For a Mosin, that's about standard. However, most of what you're going to be finding and using is this cheap steel case stuff, and this Mosin gets about 6 MOA with this cheap steel case stuff. I've tested it time and time again. I've actually ran several tests on this thing, and I'm not sure when those videos are going to go up, if they're going to go up before or after this one right here. My upload schedule is an absolute mess. So a 6 MOA rifle with steel case ammo, which is mostly what you're going to find. And if you're going to get 7.62 by 54 rimmed, that is brass case, and that ammunition is a little more on the expensive side. And if you're going to pay for nice brass case expensive ammunition, why buy 7.62 by 54 rimmed for your Mosin, which is still going to give you about 3 MOA with that ammunition? Why do that when you can get yourself, some 7.5 by 55 for roughly the same price and get much better than 3 MOA? So I guess because of that, I'll set the Mosin aside. This particular Mosin 9130, 3 MOA with good ammunition, that's just not accurate enough for me. That's still very accurate, but damn. Alright, and then there were 2, and then there were 2. Did I just say 2? God, that's 3, and then there were 3. I gotta learn how to count, apparently. Alright, 6.5 by 55 is a magnificent cartridge. And this is my only Milsurp rifle I have out here that has a scope on it. Nice, strong Mauser action. It's a cock on close. This is a really good rifle. And with that scope on this thing, like me being blind, this probably would be the best option, but there's some downsides to this that I don't really like. Like, for example, let me go ahead and throw my ears back on here. This particular Carl Gustav rifle is a little on the sticky side whenever it comes to loading its ammunition, and for some reason, it just has a tough time chambering those rounds. And I think that has to do with the round actually sliding up into the extractor. I find that whenever you pull it back a little bit and push it back forward, you got to kind of really force it in there in order to get the rounding, and sometimes it just doesn't work quite right. But whenever you do get the round in, 6.5 by 55 is a very delightful cartridge to shoot. And man, it is accurate, and I could just fire and watch my steel and make sure that it gets hit. Now, the one thing I don't like about this rifle, in terms of the actual operation, is this customized bolt handle back here. I like the idea of customizing a bolt handle, but whenever I slam this thing home, just because of the angle of this bolt handle, I have to smash it into the palm of my hand, which I have to do for this ammunition, because like this rifle just does this with all of the ammunition. You gotta fucking force the ammunition into the chamber, and you're also fighting spring tension because this is a cock on close. And combine all of that with the fact that you have to shove this corner of this bolt handle into the palm of your hand, and it can be a little on the difficult side. But at the same time, scoped rifle, incredibly accurate light shooting. It's just a freaking delightful joy to run this thing. It really is. Actually, chambering the ammunition is a little rough, but man, pulling that trigger and sending the rounds downrange is actually very nice. This right here is a one-stage trigger, not a two-stage trigger. So I don't know how much I like that, because you just kind of pull the trigger until it goes off. That being said, there's only like 2, maybe 2.5 millimeters of creep in this thing. So that is actually a very nice rifle. That is a very nice rifle, and it's got a scope on it. I feel like this right here would definitely be the more practical choice. You hear the gears turning in my head as I'm trying to make these decisions. However, I think just because of the difficulty of loading the ammunition, if I only had one and I had to use it in a defensive situation, I'd probably want something that I could use stripper clips with to load ammunition into the magazine faster. Not only that, but I would want something that I could cycle faster, and I'm not cycling this thing fast at all, especially with this bolt handle. So although this does have a scope mount on it, and it's a very nice rifle with a very nice cartridge, I hate to do this, but I guess I'm gonna set this one aside as well. God, why did I decide to make this video? It's just making me sad. Alright, German Kar 98. I really like this rifle. At this point, it's between the German Kar 98 or my jungle carbine. Alright, okay, alright, I can do this. So, jungle carbine, lighter weight than the German Kar 98, and I like the fact that the sling swivels on this thing are set up to where you could use like any sling you wanted, whereas the German Kar 98, you need specifically a Mauser sling in order to put this thing on a sling, because the hole is drilled directly into the stock, and our other sling swivel is up here. You could use just a regular sling swivel point for that one, but you need a specialty sling specifically designed for Mauser. I don't like that. 5-round magazine as opposed to a 10-round magazine. Yeah, but also 10-round with rimmed cartridges. 8mm Mauser is not a rimmed cartridge, so you have to pay very close attention to how you load your cartridges into the Enfield, whereas the Mauser, you can just freaking shove those bastards in there. And although you only have 5 rounds in this and 10 rounds in that, with that being a rimmed cartridge, the rimless cartridge of the 8mm makes it much easier to load from a stripper clip, whereas the 303 British Enfield clips, anyone who's ever loaded from those knows how much they suck. But at the same time, aperture sights versus leaf sight. Wow, this is a hard choice. Alright, okay, let's be 100% honest and fair here. In the situation where I was defending myself, I could run this a lot faster than I could run the Kar 98. And I probably would be carrying this a lot more than I would be using it. So the lightweight nature of this definitely plays in favor of it. And the sling definitely helps out as well. And the aperture sights helps out with me hitting stuff as opposed to the leaf sight, just because of my blind sight. Having an aperture sight right in front of my face really helps a lot. Cock on close action, very fast little bolts to run here. But at the same time, rimmed cartridge takes a little while to reload. Stripper clips on this thing suck. I guess since it does have an external magazine, I could just get more magazines. Pop the old mag out, put a new one in, and you just kind of keep running and gunning. All right. It's just such a close call. But, okay. All right. Yeah. I've made my decision. I've made my decision. All right. I bet a lot of you guys are going to agree with me on this one. Or maybe not. Go ahead and take the Kar98 and set it to the side. All right. If I had to just pick one, I'd probably pick my 303 British Santa Fe carbine right here. This is an incredibly nice, lightweight, easy to use, speedy little rifle. The projectiles for the ammunition are easy to find. And even if you wanted to just get factory ammunition, 303, although it is more expensive than it used to be, can still be found like very easily, especially nowadays. There's so many 303 rifles in the country. They're not like specialty ammunition like 7.7 Jap, where a company will like put out one run of ammunition and then that's it. And then whoever buys it, buys it. Like 303 is being made regularly right now. You can go online, and hell, order yourself this stuff by the surplus. It is, like I said, more expensive. And surplus 303 ammunition is still on the market. And with this being a 311 diameter projectile, or 312, I can't quite remember, the projectiles are very easy to find. And two-stage trigger, really nice. Aperture sight on this thing, also really nice. The rimmed cartridges, I mean, as long as you're paying attention, I mean, the British did it well, why couldn't I? As long as you're paying attention to how you load your cartridges into your rifle, then you should be fine. The one thing that I don't like about this thing is the recoil. Because it's lightweight, firing a very powerful, potent cartridge, man, it sure does have some stout recoil behind it. But man, as a result, that 303 British, once it smacks into that steel, holy crap, hell hath no fury. Like a 303 British rifle. Okay, all right, I have made my decision. This right here is what I would pick if I could only keep one. Yeah, well, let me know what you guys' thoughts are down below. I doubt that I would use stripper clips on this thing. If I only had one, what I would probably do is I would go ahead and I would get myself more external magazines for this thing as opposed to relying on stripper clips. That's not what they did militarily speaking, but that is what I would do. All right, well, folks, thank you ever so much for watching. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are down below. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share, description, link to all sorts of stuff. Go check that out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I have a lot of guns out here that I have to go ahead and take care of. Or, hear me out, I could continue to shoot them. That also sounds like a really good time. Alright, well, I will see you guys on the next video. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned.
Poor man's Gary. It's a shame that bolt action shotguns aren't more mainstream.